All right, guys, welcome to Final Tribal Council. I'm going to explain some things. First, Dustin is not going to be able to make it tonight. He went ahead and let me know that. He did, however, send me his questions. One second. He sent me his questions, and I'm going to have you guys, hold on, I clicked your voice notification. I'm going to have you guys type to him your answer as well as say it to the jury members. What we're going to do, guys, is I'm going to go one by one in the order that people were voted out and ask the question, or you guys will ask your question, make a statement, whatever. The finalist, they do have a time limit. They actually will start out with opening statements first. And I believe, I'm trying to see what I gave you guys. I think I gave you guys 2 minutes on opening statements. So I'm going to go ahead and start that out, and I'm going to randomize your names and get an order for opening statements. And I will time you guys. Let me grab my watch. I'm going to time you guys. And if you guys are going over your time, I will let you know. I will cut you off. And if you're answering a question, I might try to warn you. But also, jury members, the finalists do have a time limit on their questions as well. I thought you guys should know that. So they can only answer, I think it's like 3 minutes per question. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. And the person who is giving their opening statement first is going to be Corey. So Corey, if you want to go ahead and give your opening statement.
All right, of course I have to go first. But hi guys. I know going into tonight, you guys are gonna have a lot of questions, and I will be so open to answering anything. Before I say anything else, I just want to say thank you guys for such an amazing season. Regardless of anything that happened, the season wouldn't have been the same without anyone. With that being said, I just really want to explain my game as much as possible tonight and what I did, because I do believe that I am deserving of winning this game. I mean, I came into here not really knowing what to expect, and I made it here. Again, I know you guys, some of you guys probably have some tough feelings towards me. I'm nervous right now, but I'm trying to fight through this, just like I have been this entire game. But I hope you guys are able to see my game after tonight. And good luck to Ellie and Alex, whoever wins. I love you guys both so much. And yeah.
All right, thank you, Corey. Up next to do their opening statement, we have Ellie. So Ellie, if you would go ahead and like to go.
Hey guys, okay, so basically just to start off, I want to congratulate the final three, and I also want to say thank you to everyone. I think this has been one of the best seasons, regardless of the beef that's happened inside the season. I hope we can all be friends with the friends outside the season. Quickly, I just like to say, I mean, like Corey said, I am open to answering any questions. I really want you guys to get to know my gameplay. I think my game really speaks for itself. I mean, Survivor is about outwitting, outlasting, and outplaying. It's about social, strategic, and physical all together. And I think I really brought all those together. And I think I have one of the most balanced games in this whole season. And I would really like to get the chance to develop that in my questionings later on. So yeah, that's about it. And at the end of the day, I hope that everyone is happy with the season and that there's no beef. And I love you all.
All right, thank you so much, Ellie. And we're going to go ahead and go to Alex.
Okay, y'all are gonna hate me. Mine's a little longer, but coming into this season, I wanted to play this game how I usually do. I want to be outspoken and honest, but that quickly changed after seeing outspoken players in this cast going home early, like Marcy. Allegations of friend group rumor quickly circled around camp, and that really was a detriment to my game. And my solution to this was to downplay my abilities, which allowed me to appear as a number to everyone who was willing to make moves in this game. I was constantly improving my social connections in this game and making beneficial moves to advance myself further and further. Whether it was flirting, having genuine conversations with people, or talking game, I was constantly trying to gain information that could be beneficial. In addition to this, I set myself up with people who would relay me information so that I could continue to advance myself further. For example, I had Corey, who was obviously close to Lucas, and Ellie, who was close to Dustin. These two relationships allowed me to always know what was happening in the game on both sides and fact check information that was given by the other side. I always had a general sense of the direction of the votes and the way they went, along with working to move them around and place them strategically on who I would want to go home, so that no matter what happened, I would be able to benefit my game and bring myself one step closer to the end. This could be seen when Krista and Ellie, who originally wanted Lucas out, I told them about the plan to blindside Dustin, and then Krista finished off the move by playing her idol on Dustin. I'm sure you guys already have your questions prepared, but I would love for you guys to ask them. I'm willing to answer anything, and hopefully I can explain my game more to you guys.
All right, thank you so much, Alex. And we will now move on to the question portion of this. We were going to start with Zara, but since Dustin can't make it, I will go ahead and start with Dustin's question, and I will read those. That way, you guys have time to you guys are going to answer them to everyone in front of on the call, explaining that so the other jury members can see that. And then after you answer it here, I'm going to have you guys go ahead and like type out what you would like to say to Dustin. You can send it to him on Instagram so he knows how you answered his question. And that way, I'm going to do it at the beginning. That way, you guys have time during Final Tribal Council to make sure you get that answer to him. So we're going to start off with his first question, which is going to go to Ellie. Ellie, what was the main strategy you relied on to get you as far as you did?
Okay, so the main strategy I relied on is definitely my social connections that I had, mainly with Dustin, especially Ryan, Krista, Alex, Corey. That was my core group. But I think the main thing that got me as far as it did was my social connection to Dustin. The one thing that a lot of people didn't know was he literally told me everything. Javen, I knew about your legacy advantage. Lucas, I knew about your idols. He told me right away when he bag checked you. Well, your idol, sorry, your idol. He told me right away when he bag checked you. He told me everything he was doing, all the moves you guys were making. He even told me he felt like he was going home before Alex told us that he was the target. That relationship, I think, brought me a lot further than it would have if I didn't have it. He basically, for information I was getting, allowed me to relay it back to my alliance and for us to make the best possible moves and create the best possible strategy going forward. And I think that really shone through, because if you can see, basically most of our targets, if not all, went home. The only two tribals that went wrong was when Ryan and Krista got rocked out. And even my social connections with Ryan at the beginning, I think we worked really well together, and we made some bomb ass moves pre-jury, and we literally got all of our targets out. Every single tribal was a blindside. So that's basically it.
All right, thank you, Ellie, and you're free to go ahead and type that to Dustin. Oh, Dustin just joined. Hold on. Where's Dustin? Dustin. I started with your questions since you weren't able to get here. Ellie just answered the first one. If you want to ask the other two, you're free to do so. Are you there?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, the second one is for Corey. I said, with having two idols, why did you choose to not make any power moves?
I knew this was gonna come up, and I just want to say, with my two idols, obviously I found the merge one right when the merge hit, and when I had it, I didn't want to tell anyone because I didn't want anyone to dictate what I did with it. And then at that point, playing the idol was just never a necessity for me. I mean, at the final 11, I knew Zara was going. At the final 10, I would have preferred going to Rox and wasting my idol. Obviously, we voted for Ellie, so that wasn't really an option anyways, but it was something I was willing to do, even though I tried to get the votes on me. It didn't work, but I got out of that tribal council. I still had my idol. Going to the final 9, again, it wasn't necessary. I didn't feel like I had to play it to make a power move. Obviously, I could have played it on Javen and nullified all of the votes, but I just don't think that would have benefited me. That would have just sent it to Rox, and Javen was a big threat. So obviously, he had to go at some point. And then at the final 8, this was where I did have my idol, and I was considering play it because I didn't want to go to Rox. And but I also didn't want to play it. I wanted to save it because I thought I might need it later on. So I got Lucas to play his own idol on me. Obviously, that wasn't like me like begging him to play on me. I did kind of beg because I just didn't want to play my own because I was trying to save it. He did ask me at first. He told me about it, and I said, okay, thank you so much. So at that point, I held on to it. At the final 7, again, it just wasn't necessary to play it. I could have played it on Lucas, but that just would have put me in a worse spot. Then at the final 6, obviously I found my second idol at this point. And at that point, I just kind of wanted to play them to get to the final 4. And the person that I voted went home both times, so I didn't see it as a necessity to play it. But yes, my idols didn't necessarily impact the game by any means, but at the same time, I worked hard to find those idols. Obviously, the first one, I was looking for hours. And had I had to use one to make a power move, I absolutely would have done it. But thank you for asking that question because I did want to clear that up.
All right, thank you, Corey. And Dustin, if you want to ask your question for Alex.
Okay, for Alex, I said, I want to know what was one thing you were better at than Ellie and Corey in this game.
All right. So one thing that I do want to mention that I want to say for my game that I was better at was that this jury did not like me. A lot of these players in this game didn't want to talk to me in this game. They didn't want me as an ally in this game. And even with all of that happening, I still managed to escape vote after vote. If everybody hated me as much as they did, they would have voted me out. But I was able to either A, downplay my skills, downplay how much people hated me in a sense, and try to build these social connections back after I got everybody screaming at me and hating me and telling me they wanted me to die. But I was able to do damage control in this game. Maybe not jury management wise, but at least game wise to advance myself moving forward.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dustin. All right, so now we are going to go ahead and go to Zaire. Zaire, if you want to address the finalist.
I don't want to say mine, but I already said my questions in the jury chat. And I said if I don't say them, Sean's going to call me out. So the first question goes to Ellie. So kind of the whole game, it kind of looked like you were just riding Krista and Ryan's coattail and just making their moves and just following them. So tell me how you dictated some of the moves on your side the first kind of half of jury.
Okay, so we're talking jury portion?
Yeah, like first half, like
Okay,
once before Krista and Ryan got out.
Well, basically, first of all, I'd just like to say that I did not ride their coattails, actually. I mean, I was probably one of the people that was spearheading a lot of the things. I think it was more of a team effort rather than someone leading this and that. I was the main person and the main person giving information. I was getting everything, all the information from Dustin, and I was relaying it back to my side. And together we decided what moves to make, when to make them. Zaire, I'm sorry, but I'm actually one of the people that said your names first, because I knew that we could not vote Javen because he had his legacy advantage, and we didn't know where the idols were at that point. So, and we actually never talked. So Zaire, your vote was one that I actually did come up with. And then after that, I think it was Ryan who left next, right? So before Krista, before Ryan, it was really only you. After Ryan, it was Javen, and Javen at the same time, I think that was really a group decision. It wasn't one person coming up with the vote. At that point, Ryan had already left also. So it was only Krista, Corey, Alex, and I, and we all came up with the decision equally. And Javen is someone that I advocated for to leave because Dustin was telling me that he was saying my name and they wanted me out. So for sure, I wanted Javen out. And then Krista left, and it came down to Alex, Corey, and I. So yeah, that's basically my answer.
Okay. My second question is for Alex. So between playing victim and being a snake, how did you get this far?
Okay, so that was part of my strategy, but I definitely won't focus on that part. To answer your question, I think I did get this far just by my connections in the game that I did have. I had a strong connection with Ellie, Ryan, Krista, and Corey, which was that obvious side. And I did have a working relationship with Sean, Dustin. I tried to have one with Lucas, but every time like Lucas and I would talk, it was just lying back and forth. Like it didn't work out. And then Dominic, we did work together a little bit. So I did try to play this game with people from the other side. It's just most of the time they were just lying to my face. I knew they were lying to my face. But other than that, I would say it was just my social game that helped me get a little bit further. It was me willing to have those genuine conversations, because we did have a lot of genuine conversations that weren't game related. And I did have genuine conversations with people like Sean, Dustin. And I think that's what helped me get further in this game.
Okay. And then Corey, my question to you is a statement. Good game. The end.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zaire. We are now going to go to Ryan.
Okay, so hey guys. First and foremost, congratulations. I would be absolutely lying if I said that I weren't like super jealous of you guys. So yeah. I just have some things that I would like to say. So first of all, Alex, your strength and perseverance throughout the entire season is the reason that I have the strength to get up and open my eyes every single day. You you overcame so much, and your storyline is so inspiring. And I wish that this was a televised season, because if this was televised, you would be inspiring people all over the world. So with that being said, I would just like to say before I ask my questions, I'm completely unbiased tonight. Although, of course, I do have that one like small preference. It's like I care about the questions and the facts. That's all that I care about. So, and I'm pretty sure that most of the jury does too. So please be 100% honest tonight. That is how you are going to get the win. That's it. We all compared notes. Everybody compared everything. So that's all that I'm going to say. That's first of all. So my first question today is going to be for Miss Ellie. Hey, girl. So Ellie, after I left, because I obviously was not in the DMs and stuff like that. I was not there after I left. So what votes did you have a huge independent impact on after I left? Because I didn't see it. I was just watching tribal councils and vote reveals.
Yeah. So I mean, we can go in order actually. I feel like, well, first of all, the Javen vote was more of a consensus, but I really pushed for Javen hard because I knew that he wanted me out. I said that before. Dustin literally came into my DMs and was like, oh my God, girl, he's saying your name. I mean, everyone's saying your name. They all want you out. I'm trying to advocate for you. So Javen is someone that I pushed hard for. And Javen is someone I pretty much knew didn't have the idol because we kind of knew where the idols were at that point. So it was more of an easy vote. Then the next vote off was, I mean, Krista was rocked out. So no, I did not want that to happen. After that, it was Lucas, I believe, who actually left. Lucas is also someone that I pushed hard for. I mean, I knew that Lucas and I, in the beginning of our relationship, at the beginning of the season, we actually connected really well and we were working really, really well together. But then after Dirt hit, and it just didn't work out for us, and we ended up on opposite sides. And I knew that Lucas was the biggest target. And I was actually in a call with Alex, and I remember pushing hard for him because I knew we were both saying that we have to get him out. Even if he has an idol, we have to take our shot because we cannot let him get any further in this game. And we were convincing Corey. Like, I had a huge play in that. Sean's vote. Sean is someone who I literally went into Alex's DMs and we both said, Sean, let's get him out this week. Dustin didn't want it to happen. I'm sure Corey didn't really want it to happen. He wanted to go after Dom. And then, I mean, Dom obviously went after Sean because of us, because we went after Sean. So I had a huge impact in that. Dustin going home. Also, I was the deciding vote. I could have easily tied it because Dustin was my boy. He was my number one. And I could have easily tied it and said, okay, guys, go make fire. But no, I sent him home because I knew that he played a really good game. And I did not want to be sitting next to him in the finale. And yeah, that's basically where I'm going to end it.
I love you, Miss Girl, but you should not have voted Dustin out. Okay, but
I didn't know how the jury felt about him. But like, honestly, for me, like a lot of people didn't talk to him as much as I did. And I saw a lot of things that people didn't see. And I think that he's actually, like, I'm not going to advocate for him now because this is like wasting time. But yeah, I'm just going to say I saw a lot of things that people didn't see. And that's the reason why I voted him out.
Okay. So my next question is for Corey. Hey, Corey. So I'm not going to lie. When I first found out that you had the merge idol, I was really pissed because I felt like I was like up looking for it when it was already found for what. But then I kind of like put that aside and I was like, okay, I have to stop being bitter that I didn't find an idol before Corey did. So my question to you is actually like a semi-compliment, but more of just like asking how you did something, because there's something that I kind of just realized like an hour and a half ago that you did that was kind of impressive. So you were able to flip onto one side and then flip back onto the majority side and then still convince them. First of all, there was a social competition. Not only did the other side, aka Ellie and Alex, have multiple opportunities to knock you out and they didn't, and then you ended up winning, but then you also were able to convince them to take you to the final three. How did you do that? Because that confuses me so much.
Well, I just want to say at the final 9, that was when like I knew I wanted to flip, because I had been talking to people from the other side. I didn't just want to play this game on one side. I wanted to branch out. I wanted to work with different people. And while I definitely do give myself huge credit for flipping people from the other side. I also have to give credit to Lucas, because without Lucas and the bonds he had with people like Sean, Javen, and Dominic, that wouldn't have been able to happen. But at the same time, like I would say I was the person that pushed for Dustin to get votes, because me personally, I didn't have a relationship with Dustin. So even though Dustin obviously didn't go home at tribal council, Javen did, I realized at that point, like, okay, that was probably better for my game, because A, Chris's idol was out of the game. B, I had flipped, and now I was kind of in a position of power, because the other side needed my vote to prevent a rock draw, and the other side needed my vote to make a rock draw happen. So at that point, I decided to stick with the side I just voted with, to force a rock draw, knowing Lucas was playing his idol on me. If he didn't, I probably just would have played my own idol, because I didn't want that high of a chance of going home. Obviously, Krista did go home. I felt really bad, but at the same time, Chris was a huge threat. She had a tight relationship with Dominic, so I knew that was probably beneficial for my game. And then with the final 7, I will say that I slipped up a little bit, because I would say I kind of let power get to my head, but at the same time, I realized that nothing was probably going to happen that I wanted to. Because at that point, Ellie and Alex were adamant about voting for Lucas. The other side, it was kind of between Dustin and Alex, and at that point, Dustin and Alex were 2 people I didn't want to get out, because I didn't want to see them as threats. So I tried getting Lucas to say I genuinely did, but at the same time, I knew he was a big threat. I ended up voting for Dominic, because I didn't think I could beat him. So at that point, Lucas did go home, and then we went to the final 6. And at that point, I didn't really know where I stood with people, but Ellie and Alex, they still wanted to work with me. I made sure they did. Alex told me like right away that apparently Sean had played one of my voice messages that I sent him out on the Discord call. So at that point, I was like, okay, I can't trust Sean. And then I felt bad because I was lying to Sean, but I felt bad I was lying to him. And then I heard he wanted to get the majority on me. And I just had my idol, I played it, because obviously I had 2 at that point. So that's pretty much why I voted for Sean at that point, because I also had a conversation with Dominic in which Ellie would have went home with the final 5 had she not won immunity. Obviously she did. And I was straight up with Dominic. I was going to vote for him, because I learned from the Land of the Legends in my conversation that I had with Christian. If he made it to the end, this was just Christian's advice. Of course, he didn't have like a biased opinion, but Dominic was going to win through the relationships that he had. So at that point, I knew I had to vote for Dominic. I didn't really have another option. And yeah, that's pretty much it. At the final 4, I didn't really have to do much convincing, because Ellie was set on voting for Dustin pretty much. But if she wasn't, I absolutely would have like made sure that she did. So I'm pretty sure that answers your question, and that's how I got to this point.
Okay, can I just ask one thing? Just
Yeah.
who was it that you said played a voice memo with Sean again?
Alex told me that Sean played my voice message on like a big group call with everyone except me and Dom.
Okay, thank you,
Yep.
Corey. So the camera pans to Alex. Hey,
Hey.
hey Queen, what's up? So wait, before I do that, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like be able to say something after my question. So I'm just gonna say, first of all, I love all 3 of you individually. So it's actually gonna be really hard to like vote. So if I don't end up voting for you guys, just know I love all 3 of you. It's so hard to decide. So Alex, my question to you, first of all, what I just heard was interesting. That's all. But you're a smart one. But so my question to you, out of like the entire game, right?
Yeah.
Let's put it into percentages, okay? So what percent would you say that you were an underdog, and what percent would you say that you were a top?
I hate you for this. I mean, if we're being realistic, I would say, because I went to 1 tribal or 2 tribals pre-merge, and then there was the first merge tribal. That's the only portion of the game I would say that I'm genuinely was an underdog, just because the first vote I threw my vote for like a pity vote for Miss Julia Moss. Second time was literally when it was a Liz vote. Everybody was voting her, so it's not really like minority, but I didn't have a say. Yeah. And then the third vote was the Zaire one. We had to steal a vote. So those would be the only 3 scenarios I would say that I was genuinely in the minority in this game. Okay. A lot of it was just acting. I just wanted that underdog story arc that we've been all talking about.
It was ice.
It was kind of ice, but
right.
I would say from that moment on, once we gained control of the merged tribe numbers wise, it was more of which one had to go next type of style to the game. And I didn't appreciate, I'm not like trying to start shit between me and the other 2 final 3 members, but some of these moves that are being claimed as moves just weren't said by them, because Ellie, love you girl, but you wanted Lucas gone instead of Javen for the Javen tribal, because me, you, and Krista had a 3-person conversation where y'all were like, I don't know, I'm torn between the both of them. I don't know which one to do, Lucas or Javen, Lucas or Javen. And it was initially going to be Lucas until I was like, guys, I have something to tell you, blah, 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 let's do Javen. So that's what started the whole vote Javen out instead of Lucas. And the reason for that was mainly because of the fact that I knew Corey was good with Lucas, and whatever Lucas would tell Corey, Corey would come and tell me. So with having that in the game, Lucas was more beneficial for my game, hence nothing against you, Javen. That's why I wanted Javen gone that tribal. It wasn't because of the fact like anything other than that. So I just wanted to address that. And then the Sean thing with the voice message. Sean, I'm so sorry. I just had to do it so I could get you out of this game. Sorry. But okay. I think that answers your question, Ryan. Love you.
Yeah, that was pretty ice. Okay. Thank you guys. I love all 3 of you. No matter what happens, just know I love you all personally.
All right, thank you, Ryan. We will now be going to Javen. Javen, if you would like to address the finalists.
To be honest, like I'm not even gonna be like mad fake with it. Like, I think you guys are really nice people outside of the game, but in the game, like I really don't want to vote for any of y'all. Like I'm being completely honest. I think I really didn't see y'all until we left. So and the lip print is on Ryan's and Krista's ass to prove it. Like I really didn't see y'all, if I'm being completely honest. Ellie and Alex, it's funny how y'all sitting here saying that like all like I'm only coming for y'all because Javen was coming for me. Please understand this. Like I wanted to work with y'all individually, but I was told consistently that you guys would go on group calls talking about me, how y'all wanted me out so badly. So that's why I didn't bother talking to y'all, but you guys didn't even bother talking to me either. So if we're gonna play victim, I'll go ahead and play victim as well. And it's not no shocking surprise that Dustin was telling you everything. Dustin's a bitch. So we knew Dustin was telling you everything, Ellie. Like that's why we weren't so surprised. Like you coming over here saying like, yeah, Dustin told me everything. Like we knew whatever we was telling Dustin, it was going back to Ellie because he would constantly run back to you and he would constantly defend your name. So it's not really a surprise. Ellie, you answered this question. So my question is towards Alex. Alex.
Yes.
Some people on the jury feel like when it comes to game talk, the other members from your side or even my side was the one creating and influencing all of the strategy. What strategy was your own?
So I was going to say I definitely did have strategy in this game. I didn't want it to be known that I was strategizing behind the scenes, because if that target was on my back, I would have went out the door like every other strategist in this game, outspoken player. We saw that happen with you, Ryan, Krista, Lucas. All the big names of who was the biggest threats went out the door one by one. I didn't want that to happen to me. So what I did was I would sit in the background and I have my notebook. Everybody's seen it, I'm pretty sure, this entire season. I would write scenario after scenario of what I thought would be, okay, some of y'all haven't. People in the cast have. I've literally had like one-on-one convos where I would pull out the notebook and I would like jot down what I thought was happening. So there was strategy going on. It was more behind the scenes. A lot of it was to more so Corey and Ellie, because those are the 2 closest people I did have in the game at the time for a majority of this game. But I did, for example, one of the main things was the Sean vote off. And it might come as a surprise, but I was scared that what would happen is Ellie would win immunity and then go with Dustin and Sean, and they would pull in Dominic and send home me or Corey. So my theory was at Final 6, if we took out Sean, that would give us enough thing to where we could either pull in Dominic at Final 5 and try to make a move there, or I could try to pull in Ellie, and then me, Corey, and Ellie would be like a 3. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of scenarios of what could possibly happen 6 steps ahead and what I could do to prevent me going home and try to make it to this spot in the game at the Final Tribal Council.
I don't have any questions for Corey. I think it's pretty clear who I'm voting tonight. So.
All right, guys. Next, we're going to be going to Krista. Krista, if you'd like to address the finalists.
Oh my gosh. Hey guys. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate all of you on making it here into the finale I love you all personally. You know, in the game, I've had my bitter moments. I've gotten past it. I'm going in here unbiased. However, I do think that your gameplay for all of you did suck to an extent, and it's going to be kind of like the best loser. But that's just my opinion. I have a couple statements for you guys, and then I have one overall question for all of you. So to Corey, I think that you're doing a really good job explaining your gameplay with these questions, and I'm glad that I'm like being able to see a lot more of that. But I just think that in the future, especially in your final play, maybe you should explain if you had any individual moves from the final 7 forward, because I'm not really seeing that part of your gameplay. I'm just seeing like you felt comfortable and then you played idols, which is like good for you because I thought you wasted them, but obviously you just didn't need them until that point, and that's totally respectable. But I'm not really seeing any power moves from you. To Ellie, I would love to vote for you tonight. Some of the moves that you've made, especially on Dustin, have been a bit questionable, but I do overall think that like coming into this final tribal council that you have played the most well-rounded game, and I hope that you can prove that to the rest of the jury. To Alex, you're my original Flama guy. I'm super excited for you to be here in the finals, and I'm super happy for you. But I do just want to say that some of the jury, as well as myself, do think that out of this final 3, you are the most powerless player here because you didn't really make any power moves. You didn't like orchestrate anything. So I would just love to see, you know, if you could prove me wrong.
Yeah.
So now to my question. Now that we've gotten through the negative, or I think, and I hope that there's a lot of positive to you guys' gameplay. As you guys know, we were all aligned in Kalupa Waterfall. So I just want to know, ultimately, how do you think that alliance as a whole shaped your gameplay to help you get here towards the end? Do you think that you like used it as a shield for yourself to hide your gameplay or hide your strategy? Or do you think that you used it to, you know, further yourself in the game? Or did you use it as a strategy to flip and then flip back? Or just like explain that? You guys can like decide what order you want to go in.
Do we just want to do the order in which she made her statements?
Yeah, sure. So Corey, Ellie.
All right. Firstly, I just want to go to the statement that you made. I'll absolutely explain that later on my plea. I just feel like the questions really haven't been like directed towards that. But to answer your question you just asked, obviously the Kalupa Waterfall, it was hands down my favorite alliance of the season. I mean, I love everyone in the alliance. I worked with you guys at different points in the game, especially during the pre-merge. But just at the beginning of the merge, like you guys are my people. That's who I was working with. It just kind of played out that way. But obviously I did have strong bonds with all of you. But at the same time, like I said, I always wanted to branch out and I wanted to work with other people. I wanted to play this game with different people and not just you guys. I love you guys, obviously. I stayed up for like 5 hours with you guys looking for the idol. And I do just want to get back to something Ryan said earlier that I forgot to address. I didn't find the idol right away. It did take me a few hours, so I wasn't wasting all of your time. And then as soon as Lucas said the whole it was found thing, I told you guys immediately, but that's not what Chris has asked me, so I'm gonna get back on track. So basically that alliance, it shaped my game because it had a set of people that were always gonna trust me and always have my back. And I wanted to have other people as well that trusted me and would want to work with me. So even when I did flip on you guys, I was considering it multiple times at the final 10. Like I was considering that, but I eventually realized it was too early. Ultimately, I did flip on you guys at the final 9, which sucked to do. But once Ryan was gone, Ryan was like the person I was absolutely the closest with too. And at that point, I just felt like I needed to do more because I know you kind of broke the alliance down into you and Ellie and then Alex and me. But at the same time, like I knew Ellie had her her connection with Dustin, you had your connection with Dominic, and while I definitely had my connection with Lucas, I just felt like those two combined, those outpowered my own. And like you guys were talking about like using Dustin, Dominic down the line, and that was just something that didn't benefit me. So that's why I flipped at certain times. I was able to flip back. And obviously I worked with Ellie and Alex towards the end of the game because I believe just like the people outside of them were bigger threats. So yeah, I think summarizes your question as best as I can in the time that I have. Thank you for asking that. And yeah.
Okay, so my answer won't be as long because it's very simple. But first, I do want to say I will address the whole why I chose to vote Dustin out instead of Corey in my final speech because I do have like a good reason for that. or personally at least. To answer your question now, for me, this alliance was literally everything. I loved it so much. One of the biggest things for me was trust at the end of the day. I worked with Ryan since day one. We were making moves left and right in our little old Glaciers tribe. Then New Glaciers, Ryan, Chris, and I, us three, literally like going into merge, Dustin was in my ear saying, you have to flip over, you have to flip to the Javen side, you have to do this. And honestly, for me, I realized that that would not benefit me whatsoever because I already had Dustin over there saying, you can't vote Ellie out, you can't vote Ellie out. And clearly that protected me for as long as it did. And so I was protected on that side. So why would I change side when I can have both sides protecting me? Honestly, for us, our alliance was really about trust, and I trusted our alliance so much more. Sorry, Javen, but I trusted our alliance so much more than the other side because I knew that I probably would have been at the bottom of the Javen side. So not only was I protected on both ends, but it was also a huge matter of trust. And I knew that it was basically everyone was coming after Ryan and Krista. They breathed, and everyone wanted them out. So I also knew that it wasn't much of a shield, but more that they had shinier games than I did. And although I was doing just as much and participating just as much, I was seen as lesser of a target because they had shinier games. So I guess you and Ryan, I'm not gonna say they, but basically those are my 3 reasons why I decided to stick with Kalupa Waterfall. And I am so happy I did because it not only created an amazing alliance, but also amazing friendships. So.
All right, and that jumps into me. I would say love you both to death, Ryan and Krista, but the main reason I wanted to work with the Kalupa Waterfall group was because y'all would be shields for me in this game. I knew that after the first tribal council that there was a target on my back for like obviously throwing my vote, sticking with Miss Krista over here. And I knew that it wouldn't have ended up like good. And then the Zara vote off, that just made a bigger target on my back. So I was like, you know what, let me just stick with these 2. Their names are going to be on the chopping block before mine. And I feel like the other side, Lucas and Javen was going to be on the chopping block and their names were going to be going on. So it was kind of like a war between all the like big players, quote unquote. And I kind of wanted that to play out a little bit just so I could advance myself further in the game. Now, there were the people like on the, not the bottom of the tribe, but like the not big threats, and those are who I started trying to connect with more and more as the game went on, because I knew that at the end of the day, in this war, as we've been calling it throughout the entire season, at the end of the day, Krista and Ryan would get voted out eventually, and Lucas and Javen would have went eventually. There was a very unlikely chance, maybe Krista, because Krista was playing a great game with 0 votes, all that bomb ass shit, but there was a very low chance that they would all make it far in the game. So I just wanted as many shots to be taken at them to advance myself without those shots getting taken as me. And the only times that I did have shots taken at me in this game was when I wanted shots taken at me, because that's the week that it tied and it was the 5-5 on me and Ellie. And then the other week was when I went after Lucas and he obviously voted me, and so did Dominic. So I think I did, to go back to your other question, I think I did make strategic moves in this game, but they weren't as out there, if that makes any sense. It was a lot of one-on-one conversations behind the scenes that I might not get credit for, because I gave off this perception like, oh, I'm stupid, I'm weak, I haven't talked to like everybody. A lot of that was an act. I already said that before, but yeah, I think my biggest problem in this final tribal council right now is I have to reverse this conception of me as a player that you all have been thinking of for the last God knows how long. I hope that answers your question. Love you.
For sure. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, Krista. We will now be going to Lucas. So Lucas, if you'd like to go ahead and address the finalist.
Okay. I just want to say that I am going to be voting for who I think wants to win this game the most. So, I mean, I had my mind made up before Tribal Council, but the more that I'm hearing things, I'm actually shifting my mind a bit. So there's that. But I want someone to win who wants to win as much as I did, as much as Krista, Ryan, Javen, everyone on the jury wanted to win, because we all really wanted to win and we didn't. So I want to vote for someone who wants to win this game. All right. So with that, Alex, I had a bitchy question prepared for you, but I mean, you've been ice as fuck tonight. So I want to ask a question to you
Okay.
to see more of the icy side.
Okay.
So, Alex, please bash Ellie and Corey.
Okay. I actually had this planned out, so I'm glad you asked this question. The one thing I do want to bash about their gameplay is they did have a lot more pre-connections than I did coming into this. Yes, I did have a friendship with Ryan like 2 years ago that I got clocked for constantly, but that was the only connection I really had in this game. I talked to Javen maybe once in a while and Peyton maybe once in a while, but that was it. They definitely did have a lot of connections coming into this that I didn't have that let them have an easier ride in this game. Not only that, Ellie was protected in this game a lot of the time based off of being safe and immune. Had she not had that, she most likely would have gone home. Corey, on the other hand, had 2 idols that one of which he told me about right away. The second of which, it was kind of obvious he had it, but I didn't want to clock him for it. Now, that's the thing. They both had those things keeping them safe in this game. That's not what I had. The only thing I had keeping me safe in this game was my word and how much I pissed y'all off. Because if I just didn't scream at y'all 24/7, nobody would have taken me to the end at this point. I kind of definitely tried to play that up as much as I could in order to be perceived as this most hated person. Yes, a lot of y'all don't like me. I know that. Coming into this, y'all wanted me like my head on a stake. But it was all game for me, at least. I genuinely like talking to y'all, but game-wise, I guess they didn't piss people off because they just like they did whatever they did. Like they didn't really do insanely much, if that makes any sense. Sorry, I'm like word stumbling right now, but that's just how I feel. I feel like they hid behind idols and immunity, and then they had their connections, which gave them an easier road, and I didn't have that road.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Corey, you know I love you, and I think you're a great player. So please continue articulating that for the rest of the night because you deserve a lot of credit. The one thing, though, that really bothers me about your game is the fact that I played an idol on you, and literally the next Tribal Council, when you knew I was probably going home, you held on to your idol and then ended up wasting it. So why should I give you my vote when you didn't give me your loyalty?
I absolutely wanted to talk about this. I tried talking about it a little bit earlier, and I do just want to apologize for that. At the end of the day, I was looking out for myself for the most part, but I did want to look out for my allies as well. And at the final 8, when you played my idol on me, I was extremely grateful for that. And at the final 7, I vowed saying that I would not vote for you, and everyone was telling me to. They were practically like saying, "Oh, we need to be Lucas, we need to do Lucas," and I was trying so hard to get the votes off of you. But at the same time, like, I didn't want your fate to be sealed. Like, I was trying so many different things. Obviously, I eventually told you to vote for Dominic, which I didn't really expect you to do. But at the same time, like, I really did want you to stay. But as far as my idol went, I didn't really know how things were going to go after that. And I had no idea how the votes were falling when the idol call did come around. And I am going to be honest and say that I didn't like highly consider playing it on you because I did know you were a big threat. Had you made it to the end of the game, you absolutely would have won. And if I played it on you, it just would have like isolated us completely as a duo, probably would have put me in a worse spot. At that point, I didn't have a second idol to fall back on. So it just didn't really make sense for me at the time. And I am really sorry because I know you stuck your neck out for me. You played it on me and you didn't have to do that. But at the end of the day, I was looking out for myself. And I know that doesn't seem loyal, but I am sorry. And that's all.
No, you're good, Corey. I love you. Okay. And then Ellie, for you, I have no question, just observations. I'm very confused by your game. And throughout the night, people have been saying that you had a very well-balanced game, but I completely disagree. So I'd like to point out a few things that just don't make sense to me. So before I do that, I do want to give you props. Your physical game was very, very impressive, okay? You won when you needed to, and I admire that. I do, because I didn't win when I needed to. So I respect that. However, I think that your strategic game was absolutely horrendous. Despite the fact that you were barely on, which I'll go into more later, you still had a lot of connections on original Glacies. And after we swapped, you were in an even better position. You had Ryan and Krista, obviously. You had Sean, you had Peyton, and you had me. Yet in the span of 2 votes, you managed to screw over all of your options except for Ryan and Krista. basically isolating yourself from every other possible connection you could have had. And then when we merged, you basically did whatever they told you to do. And I just don't respect that very much, which leads me to your social game, which I believe was also pretty bad. You've been saying you have a good social game, but then the whole night you've mentioned that there are people who you never talked to in the game. So I don't think you can claim to have a good social game if there's people that you never spoke to. That's just not good. And as mentioned previously, you are in Discord maybe a fourth of the time compared to everyone else. And almost every conversation we had, even when we were allies, was initiated by me. On top of that, after you voted out Peyton, who we had an alliance with, you didn't talk to me until 3 votes later. And you said word for word, I don't know what happened between us. Like, to me, you're one of the fakest social players I have ever seen play Survivor, ever. And that's not even counting how annoying your jury management was. Listening to you pander to the jury at Tribal Council and in confessionals literally made me want to rip your lips off so you wouldn't be able to kiss ass anymore. But the nail in the coffin, and the main reason why I will not give you my vote to win, is your clear lack of dedication for this game. Corey and Alex made sure their lives revolved around this season, and you barely managed to get on Discord 10 minutes before Tribal Councils. On top of that, the last 3 or 4 tribals and challenges that I went to before leaving were rescheduled and pushed back because of you. And I get it, you work, but so do I. So does Alex, who's next to you. So does Drew, the host. So do so many people in this cast, and we were flexible and you weren't. And oh my God, sometimes you would ask for things in the game to be pushed back so you could finish a movie. Like, I'm sorry, but ultimately you were socially clumsy, a boring player, a coattail rider, and strategically inept. And you probably could win this season, so congratulations. But just know that if you ever play this game with me in the future, I will not sit back and watch you coast your way to the end again. Thank you, and good luck to all 3 of you.
All right, thank you, Lucas. We are now gonna go ahead and go to Sean.
Hi guys.
Hey, Sean.
So I wrote out a little speech because I get carried away with my words. So I can just follow this. First, I do want to say, good job, Alex, on your whatever the fuck that was to get me out. You definitely upplayed the situation. So congrats to you on that. Okay, so here it is. Hey guys, so what is undoubtedly one of the best seasons of Reality Noted has the most disappointing final 3. Ever since I was voted out, I have been struggling to pick in my mind who deserves the title of Sole Survivor. I have worked with you all at some point in this game to advance myself, and although I wish I could be sitting here where you are, you weren't smart. You were smart taking me out. Alex, I hope that your strategy was to be annoying and quote unquote an outcast, because you're basically just a bottom bitch. I think at times you think you had me in your back pocket, but I'm here to tell you that was not the case. Like another one of your so-called showmances, I did not see you in that light, and your flirting was kind of ass.
Thanks.
I still think of you, and I still think of you as a black screen on Snapchat that says "Don't swipe up." Corey, coming into this, I had every intention of not voting for you tonight, but I have decided that I will listen to what you have to say. You had so many tools at your disposal and chances to remold the game, but you played so safe and you would always get scared at the last minute. You had so much power, but at the same time, none because you opted to do what you were told. I think of you as someone who has like big dreams and the means to make those dreams happen, but daddy is in your ear telling you that you can't, so you just settle and with a 9 to 5. Ellie, you successfully managed to let everyone else do your dirty work. You hid behind 2 of the most raw players in the game for almost its entirety, but you were able to secure the most individual wins, so I commend you on that. And you had your very own guard dog who was all bark and no bite. You were the equivalent to a getaway driver. You sat back, enjoyed the show, and when things got sticky, you left your accomplices behind. All right, so my question, I have the same question for Ellie and Alex, and then a different question for Corey. My question for Ellie and Alex is, what was your biggest mistake during the game? And Corey, if you could go back and change one thing about the game, what would you change?
You go first.
If you want to go first. Do you want to?
Oh, Alex, you can go first.
Oh, okay. So first, I want to go on to can I mention something about what you said earlier? I think the flirting thing, obviously, I wasn't thinking I had control over you or Dustin in that sense. What I wanted out of like flirting with people in the sky, because you all weren't the only two, first off. But I wanted y'all to think you had me. I wanted the opposite reaction. I wanted you to think that you could control me and I would do whatever you wanted. So you would keep me around in this game. It wasn't the fact that like I wanted to pull you in for moves and do this, do that. No, I wanted to fill, not saying in a bad way, I wanted to fill people's egos in the sense where I wanted them thinking, no matter what happens, I have control over Alex and he'll do what I say. So that's just to answer your first question. And I think the worst thing that I did in this game could be how I handled the Zare vote off. And it's something that maybe I shouldn't have done. I did see benefits for voting her out, but there were a lot of downsides as well. I knew that going into that vote. And when I casted that vote, I knew it. But at the same time, I think I went about it the wrong way, because obviously there was idols and everything like that. And I know I hurt the girl, and I'm really sorry on a individual outside the game level that I ruined our friendship in that sense. And hopefully after this, I don't even care about like the way she votes tonight. She's going to vote however she wants to based on the game. But I hope after this that I will be able to mend that and continue to work on that friendship.
Does that make me next?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, first of all, I want to just like also like Alex did comment on one of the statements that you made. In terms of like the hiding behind Ryan and Krista, I think I mentioned that before. A lot of people see it as me hiding behind Ryan and Krista, but a lot of the times, if you guys weren't in our Alliance chat, but Ryan, Krista, Corey, Alex, and I all were there together, and I think that we can all agree that it was much more of a team thing rather than a Ryan is barking this or Krista is saying that. I think it was a lot more of that. And I mean, you guys can assume whatever you want, but at the end of the day, you weren't in that Alliance chat, so you wouldn't know. The only people that would know is the 5 of us that were in there. I also want to comment on the whole Dustin being my guard dog, or so to say. I feel like I'm getting a lot of backlash for Dustin just protecting me the way he did. I think Ryan and Krista would do the same things to each other. It's like Lucas protected Corey with the idol. I think that's not something that should be seen as a disadvantage for me. I think it should be seen as beneficial and an advantage, because at the end of the day, I had that person and we had a really good social connection, and that is the reason why he protected me the way he did, and it only got me further in the game. So I think that should be commended and not discredited.
1 second. That was a commendment, not a...
Oh, okay. I thought it was a discredit, and I was like, no,
No.
please. Okay. Basically, to answer your question, I think my biggest mistake at the end of the day was not talking to Zare, Javen, and Lucas as much as I did, because I didn't talk to them that much. Javen, we had one conversation basically close to the merge with Dustin in there, basically saying that we wanted to work together, and we didn't end up working together. Zare, we literally never spoke. We were never on the same tribe, so that, I mean, we could have spoken even if we weren't on the same tribe, but I think a lot of people were focusing on tribe rather than merge. And come merge, I knew you were the person I wanted out, so that's really the reason why I didn't speak to you. I didn't want to go into your DMs and being like, oh girl, let's work together, even though I knew I was running you out. I think that would just be fake as fuck. And Javen, same thing for you. Honestly, like Dustin said, he wanted me to work with you guys, but I felt like I was going to be at the bottom of that side. And I knew that I didn't want you out because you were an amazing player and you were saying things like you wanted me out. So I didn't feel the need to come and tell you that, oh, let's work together, let's keep each other safe, when all I was going to do was target you. I think the biggest mistake is probably, like, out of all 3 of those was Lucas, because we had a very, very, very good connection early on in the game, and I really love that. I love the conversations we had, Lucas. They were honestly amazing. And I do regret not talking to you after the Peyton vote. I was, at that point, I was a little confused as to where our relationship stood, and I know I should have talked to you, and I feel like we could have worked together and made something out of it, and we could have utilized that, and you could have utilized something out of me as well. So I think that was my biggest mistake, was not creating a bigger relationship with Lucas and working on that past merge. And I think that did hurt me at the end of the day, because I mean, as you can tell, Lucas isn't the biggest fan of me. But yeah, at the end of the day, I can't change what happened. I can only be sorry for it, and for that I am. So that's all I have to say.
All right. I also want to comment with one thing that you said. First of all, I know you probably aren't going to vote for me, and I understand that, but I appreciate the fact that you are at least like considering it in a sense that you're going against the fact that you said you were going to vote me no matter what. But to comment on something that you said that there were multiple times in this game where I had the opportunity to do something and I didn't do it. And I'm trying to think of some of those moments. And while I do see where the perception can come from, that there were a few of those, I just want to explain the first one, I believe would be at the final 10 when I had the opportunity to flip to avoid rocks, to flip to the other side, because I knew that you and Lucas would have my back moving forward. And that was something I was heavily considering. I did talk to Alex about it because I wanted to be straight up with him if I flipped, because I wanted to do my damage control before, after the fact, when everyone would be mad at me. But ultimately I didn't flip because of a conversation that we actually had when I was like, hey, how would you feel about voting Dustin after this if I were to flip? And you were like, Dustin, I wouldn't want to do right now. Javen, I don't want to vote, and maybe I'd do Dominic. At that point, I was like, okay, I don't know how confident I feel about this at that time. So that was when I essentially decided that I was just going to stick on my side, went to rocks, whatever. After that, though, I would say that I 100% played the game the way I wanted to. I voted how I wanted to every time. I didn't really let anyone control my decisions. There was the one time at the final 8 where it was an instant tribal. Everyone had their own opinions, but there were only 5 minutes to sort that out. And I didn't want to vote for Ellie because I just would have felt really bad, especially after I just lied for her. But at the same time, I realized after that kept her safe from rocks. And Ellie could have went home because I knew you were getting votes. They told me to vote for you, but I didn't want Ellie to go. So I made sure that it went to rocks and that I was safe. And then the end, I haven't really talked about a lot because I did have my idols to protect me. I didn't have to do too much, but at the same time, I will say that I did do a lot. Going to the final 6 at that point, I was pretty much just trying to weigh my options. And at that point, I wanted to vote Ellie off at the final 5 because I believe that would just be more possible than at the final 6 when things were just very unclear between who was with who. And I've been talking to Dominic a lot. I had a long conversation with him about how we were going to vote Ellie at the final 5, and that's what I'd set my mind on. And then at the final 6, I just decided I was going to vote for you again because of the voice message thing. And at that point, I just didn't really know where we stood because you made that speech about me at the tribal before that. Sorry, I know I'm going on. I haven't even gotten to your question yet, so I'm just going to cut this short. But at the final 5, obviously Dominic's my only choice. I said that. Final 4, whatever, I stayed, Dustin went home. So to answer your question, if I go back and change one thing, I wouldn't change any of the votes that I cast because I believe every vote that I cast helped me get to this point. But the one thing that I would change is the personal connections at the beginning of the game for me were very choppy. I was so focused on the game because I didn't want to go home. Like my one thing going to this game, I didn't want to go home first. I didn't want to go home super early. I just wanted to persevere and survive. So I was just completely focused on the game and every vote. So I didn't branch out to people, especially from Flamma. I did get better as time went on. But right from the beginning, I would say if I could go back and change one thing, it would be talking to people more at a personal level and getting to know people more. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, Sean. Thank you, Sean. We will now go to Dom.
All right, Nod, if you can hear me. Beautiful, beautiful. So coming into here, I'm not one for opening statements and all that bullshit. I like to just get to it. But I'm seeing that everyone else has these ultimate opening statements that they've been writing and they're reading off fucking scripts and shit. So I decided to make my own. All right, so Corey, rolling your damn eyes, Alex with your damn hand movements, and Ellie with your damn facial expressions. Now, look, walking into here, I looked at 3 motherfuckers who pissed me off. And what I was gonna do was vote for the motherfucker who didn't piss me off the most. That's what I was gonna do, but I'm hearing you guys now. And my word in the game, what I said still stays the fucking same. Hold up, I lost my spot. Now tonight, everybody is sorry. Everybody want to mend relationships and everybody wants to love each other. And Corey, you out here thanking people for asking questions that they're required to do. Anyways, moving on. Corey, do you have any remorse in this game? Now, hold up, before you answer it, The reason I'm asking you this is because I mean it's already been brought up that you had idols and Lucas played his idol on you and you didn't do the same for him. So I saw that as like dog as fuck and I saw that as dirty as fuck. I get this as a game, but like I mean, I don't think you were in a position where you were ever really gonna be in trouble because no one saw you as that, big. So do you have any remorse in this game?
Remorse, I would say yes. I don't have regrets as far as votes goes. I said that in the last question that I got. But as far as remorse goes, I never wanted to make anyone feel some type of way towards me. And that's not because of jury management. That's just because of like how I feel about people's feelings. And I'm being honest when I say that. Like very early on in the game, I know no one really cares about pre-merge, but voting for Devin, that was really difficult for me to do. And I did have remorse towards that afterwards because I felt really bad. Same thing goes on. I know I didn't vote for Krista, but I did feel really bad when she went home because I know I had a hand in that. And then like every vote was not an easy thing to do. Obviously some are easier than others because of things that I heard, but I never wanted to lead anyone on too much. Like in the game of Survivor, you have to, but I wasn't gonna like lie unnecessarily. And while I don't think that I did for the most part, I would say that I do have some remorse towards, like I said, voting off people that were honest with me, were loyal to me. I don't really know how loyal people were going to be in the long run, and that kind of goes to the idols thing. I didn't really think anyone saw me as a huge threat, but at the same time, I know things can change, and especially with all the big threats going, I never knew how things were going to line up. So that's why I didn't want to play my idol on Lucas. I wanted to save it for myself, and I know that sounds selfish, but at the end of the day, I was just looking out for myself. And I do have, I'm getting very repetitive, so I'm going to cut this off. But I do have remorse, and I do feel bad for voting off certain people at certain times that were honest with me. And yeah.
All right, look. So I did view you as like, I don't know, this is okay. I did view you as like selfish, and I was like, that was dirty, and I might have said some things in confessionals, and I've been saying it in the Ponderosa too, that was like dirty, that you're selfish. But I've been also saying this entire season that Soul Survivor, you have to do what gets you to the end and wins you the game. So, okay. Okay, moving on. Alex. Earlier in this whatever the fuck this is, you mentioned you had a notebook that you wrote down stuff in. So can you show me that fucking notebook?
I erased it yesterday. I'll show you the actual notebook.
Yeah, I want to see the notebook.
Oh my god. Okay. It's one of those eco-friendly ones, so it washes away. And I was gonna keep it for Final Tribal Council, but I erased it. Like y'all will see in the challenges, I pulled it out because I had all my notes in it, but it's all gone now because I washed it away.
Can you show me it closer?
The notebook?
Yeah, the notebook.
Yeah, there's nothing in it right now.
So you remember when I was in the game and I was trying to campaign to you not to vote out, and you told me we'll see. Well, you know what I see on that paper? Nothing.
Oh my god. I knew where that was going.
Moving on. I have a question for you though.
Yes.
So Alex,
hey.
In this game, I never saw you as a leader. I saw you as a follower. Like, I mean, early merge, everyone had their piece, and you voted your piece out for your group, like Soul Survivor. So at what point in the game did you take the lead on anything?
So I definitely think, like, again, it's hard for our group to claim moves because it was more of a like throwing things out and like feeling it out. But I definitely approached Ellie with the Sean vote, and she was agreeing with me at the same time she was saying the same name. So I'm not gonna like take the full credit for it. But there was the Sean vote. I genuinely believe switching it off of Lucas to Javen at the vote of the instant tribal, that was more so me as much as those two names were on the chopping block. I felt like Chris and Ellie were leaning towards voting out Lucas. And I kind of, when I said the information, yes, Dustin did have the suspicion, but I was the one who kind of shifted more, let's do Javen instead, just because of the fact that I thought I could work more with Lucas in this game. I tried to test the waters with Javen, message him, see if anything could be there. He ignored it. But to be fair, he had every right to, because I was just trying to get information out of him at that point. But I wanted to test the waters, see what was there. It wasn't there. So I wanted it off of Lucas and onto Javen. So there were things where, again, it's Survivor. You have to have other people to make the moves with you, but there's always that one person who tries to shift things their way. And I think in those two scenarios, I definitely was shifting things in the way that I thought was best at that time.
So things is plural, but you only stated one thing.
I
Moving
said
on.
I said Sean and I said Javen instead of Lucas.
Okay. Last but not least, Ellie. Okay, so final six, you pull me in a room and you go, Dom, I got you. And I took that shit serious as fuck. Like, you're gonna watch when the finale gets aired. I need to go with Ellie. I need Ellie to trust me. I got Ellie's back. This, and that. We vote out Sean. We pull that off. Well, apparently Alex and you pulled that off, and it wasn't me, but that happens. And we go to my tribal, and you refused to vote Alex, even though you told me you had me. So what was the point of telling me you had me just to turn around and do me dirty as fuck and send me home? And hold up, I'm not done. Even when I asked for a pity vote, knowing Corey was gonna play his idol, you still wouldn't do that for me. So when you couldn't give me your vote, why the hell should I give you my vote?
Okay, so basically, also before I did mention your name when we were talking about the Sean vote. But anyways, besides that, Dom, I genuinely did have you, and I don't know if you compare notes with Dustin, but I was literally in Dustin's DM texting him to the very last minute, let's not do like that. I wanted to flip and not vote you. At the end of the day, he texted me and he said, I voted this person, and that is why, Dom, at the end of the day, I decided to vote you, because I knew that we weren't going to have the numbers either way. I know I could have thrown you a pity vote. I know that. And I do feel bad that I didn't. But at the end of the day, I did want to be included in getting you out. And I didn't want that to be put a bigger target on my back, because moving forward, there was still Corey, Alex, and Dustin to think about. And I knew that at the end of the day, you were already going home. There was nothing I could do to save you. So at that point, it is selfish, but I did have to think of myself and have to think, okay, well, if I flip on this vote, I mean, they already wanted me out, but if I flip on this vote, they're going to be even more sketched out about me, and they're going to want me out even more so than they already did. So, at the end of the day, I had to think of myself. I do feel bad that I couldn't throw you a pity vote, but I knew where the votes were headed, and that is why I couldn't vote you at the end of the day. And like you said earlier, you understand why Corey played dirty the way he did, because at the end of the day, it is sole survivor. And I hope that you can respect my move for the same reasons. And I do want to say I did have you. Like, I was trying to advocate you to Dustin till the very, very, very end. Like, I wanted to save you so hard. I really did.
Okay, I'm going to play Drew. I see Alex has his hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I answer a question with that? Ellie, again, not to like come at you crazy, but we had a conversation the night prior before you messaged Dom, and I went to you and I said, we should try to pull in Dom as a number for this next vote, just in case something goes crazy. And you said, yes, I'm going to message him in the morning. And then I was like, okay, I'll talk to him later that day. So again, not trying to like come at you, but like, how was that having Dom's back in this game? If it was premeditated that we were going to be pulling him in as a number to use him for a couple tribals, and then, no offense, Dom, but then like send him packing because he has people on the jury that wanted him to win.
Yeah, I want to add to that. I honestly, Alex, before we even had the conversation, I had already had my conversation with Dom. That was before we had our conversation. Yes, I was telling you that we're going to use him, this and that and that, but I 100%, I had Dom's back. When I said I had him, and I did want to go far with him. And I was telling you, obviously, that, yeah, we're going to pull him in, we're going to use him, this and that. But I actually really did have Dom's back. And I did have a conversation before our conversation saying that I had a conversation with Dom, like Discord that night after Tribal. We had a conversation right away. And I said, I had you. And I really did. And I did try till the very end. I actually did. And it just didn't work out. And that's what happens sometimes. Things don't work out in Survivor. They don't always go your way. And unfortunately, that's what happened. But yeah, just to answer to that, like I did, it wasn't because you told me, okay, let's
No, I wasn't
pull
saying
Dom
it
in.
was that. I was just
Okay. No. Yeah, I had a conversation with him before everything with us happened.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how genuine, because obviously I don't want you sitting here bullshitting to him and being like,
oh no, it was with Dom. It was 100% genuine. If you compare notes to Dustin, he'll tell you like it was 100% genuine.
Okay. Damn, I know I stated like in the game, I don't know if I said it the tribal I left, that I wouldn't be voting certain people. And unlike certain people, I keep my word. That's all.
All right. Thank you so much, Dom. Thank you so much, jury, for asking your questions. That being said, we do have final pleas. The final three, I have already randomized the order of that. Reminder, you guys have a 6-minute limit. You do not have to use all of the 6 minutes if you feel like you can articulate what you have. But if you do go over the time, I will be like, okay, wrap it up. But that being said, the first person to go ahead and give their speech is Alex. So Alex, if you go ahead and give your plea.
Please wrap me up if I go over. I don't think I'm going over, y'all, but just to be safe. Okay, I wrote a good part down, but I'm gonna just go with it. As the game is coming to an end, I want to thank you all for and production as well for an amazing season full of wonderful memories. For my final plea, I wanted to break it up into 6 different main points on why I feel like I deserve to win the title of Sole Survivor and to win Reality Note a New Age. The first point that I want to make is that unlike the 2 I'm sitting next to, love them to death, but I didn't have to rely on immunity or idols to win this game. I mentioned it previously, but these 2, they had safety blankets in this game. I did not have that. I was constantly trying to get my name off the chopping block or my name on the chopping block for when we had the rock vote, where I tried to get the votes onto me by screaming at everybody like a crazy person. But I didn't have that safety in this game where I was able to just like go gung-ho crazy because I won immunity or had a necklace or an idol in my back pocket that I could always play to be safe. No, I had my name on the chopping or as an eligible person on the chopping block every single week of this game that I went to tribal. The second point I want to make is that I've only ever voted in the minority once, other than the obvious rock draws. And that was because of the fact that I wanted to give Julia a pity vote. I kind of knew at that point when the public idol was claimed that shit hit the fan, I was being lied to, and specifically before when Dustin made a comment towards me about someone being a snake and lying to his face. I knew that was about me. I was the snake of the season. We all know that. But I only voted in the minority that one time. Every other time I did that, the person I voted for went home, whether it was because of idol plays, vote steals, things like that. I managed to vote in the majority and send everybody to the jury house, and obviously the 2 pre-merges. The third point that I want to make is in this game, I did receive votes, but they were only on 2 separate occasions. One where I wanted the votes, like I mentioned previously at the final 10 tribal, where the votes were originally on Corey, but when Corey was withholding information from his people on the other side, and I screamed at people, y'all ended up voting me, which gave me immunity at that tribal, which was a kind of a thing that I not did to outsmart y'all because y'all kind of knew that rocks were going to happen, but I got it off of Corey per se and onto me. The other time that I did get votes was that final, the tribal when Lucas left, and it was obvious I was voting him, so he would return the favor and vote me, I feel like. Second to that, I did make moves to secure my position in this game, as much as everybody thinks that I was sitting behind the scenes doing nothing, as y'all assumed. For example, the Zare vote, as there were benefits to the Zare vote, as I mentioned previously, one of them being that I was taking someone out of the game who would automatically, I feel like, would make it to the end had she stayed, just because of the fact she was very well liked in this game. And she could have a shot at winning because of her social game. I think by clearing that spot out, people looked at me as this weak player who was easy to manipulate. And that allowed me to, yes, I did get votes to the like tribal after because the revenge there type thing, but it allowed me to maneuver my way through this game as someone who was seen as someone who wasn't a threat. There was the Javen vote, which I've mentioned a lot, so I'm not going to go too much into detail about that. And then other moves were the Sean vote off, the Lucas vote off, Dustin vote off, etc. Fifth point I want to make is I did an unconventional strategy, which was playing the victim card. I know we've all talked about it like crazy, but I think playing the victim definitely did help my game moving forward because it let people who wouldn't approach me, like I would say Lucas was someone in this game who really wouldn't approach me to make a move until I started being like the victim, until I started looking like, oh, what was me? And then he wanted to have conversations because he saw me as a number he could pull in. And I think a lot of people did that because I played the victim card. I made it like everybody was out to get me. finally, my last thing was that my relationships I made this season, as much as it was like gameplay oriented, they were genuine. I really do like each and every one of you, and I'm not trying to be like all that sappy, like please vote me, shit. Please vote me, y'all. But I genuinely did like talking to you guys, playing this game with you, and I had a really good time and made a lot of memories, as I said before. These connections that I made also allowed me to have a good sense of where the votes were always falling, which allowed me to constantly vote out the person who was leaving. As I mentioned previously, how I never voted other than to throw a vote for. But I was able to always know who was going home and how I can maneuver myself to get to final three on my own. I didn't win my way to the end. I didn't play idols to get to the end. I got to the end because I made those connections to like progress myself through this game and to socially maneuver my way continuously, get the target off of me, and then just make it to the end and be in the final three before you guys right now. Obviously, I'm gonna just go quickly over the main points of the tribals. Julia vote, obviously, I went and I threw my vote because of the fact that Javen was playing the public idol. I just had a gut feeling. How much?
30 seconds.
30 seconds? Okay, I played my heart out in this game, constantly gave my all to it, and I would really like to represent you guys as the winner. We're gonna skip all that or other shit. No matter what happens tonight, I just hope that I could continue to develop friendships and like fix the broken ones. I played an under the radar style game, and I would really appreciate any jury votes at this point. I think I did play a good game. I didn't play the out there game that everybody else was playing this season, but I think if I did play that, I would be sitting on the jury rather than in the final three. And I wanted to do whatever I could to make it to this final three. I really hope you guys like take that into consideration and consider voting me to win, because I really want this and I want it bad, and I hope that I didn't disappoint anyone. Love y'all no matter what.
Thank you so much, Alex. Up next, we will be going to Corey. Corey, if you'd like to go ahead and give us your speech.
All right, can you let me know when I have like a minute left, because I feel like I have so much to say in such a little
Sure, I
time.
will let you know.
Okay, thank you. Guys, coming into this game, I had no clue what to expect. This is my first face game, and I don't want to play the whole card like I had this underdog story because I experienced in Survivor games in the past. But moving on from that, just the face game experience I felt like was so different. Night one, entering the Discord, I didn't even know how to mute my microphone. I pressed the deafen button, and I was like, why can't I hear anyone? Why can't I hear anyone? So like just in that, I feel like I know that's such a minor thing, but I feel like that represents so much more. And night one, I kind of was stereotyped as the quote unquote inactive because I had to go to bed early because I had school. That's not relevant to the game. But that was just a stereotype I got early on that I had to deal with. And then another stereotype that I had to deal with was that I was the easy vote again, because I wasn't as like known as some of these people. And I want to go back to something Alex said earlier, which is that I had a lot of pre-season connections. And while I will admit that I did know some people, specifically Ryan is probably the person that I was only like super close to, and not even super close. We just talk every here and there, and I've known him for a while. And aside from that, Lucas and I have never been super close friends. Yes, he's a familiar face to me. And then Liz, I was friends with a long time ago. But aside from that, I felt like I was kind of on my own. Alex was probably my closest ally at some point in this game, and I hadn't spoken a word to him before this game. But moving on from that, on the original Glacius tribe, I had to fit in somewhere. I definitely, like I said, all of the relations that I had, they pretty much ended up in my tribe, so I had that going to my advantage. And then aside from that, I absolutely worked on other connections as well. I talked to Devin a lot, which is why I felt so bad about voting for him. And then aside from that, like the people that kind of wanted me out, I know my name didn't get voted at the first Tribal Council. It was thrown out because like Marcy and Jonathan. I had to deflect on that. I had to play whatever I could to get past that. In the first vote, Marcy went home. Liz stayed, which is what I wanted from the beginning. I couldn't do that on my own because I couldn't put myself out there so much. But when Liz got on, I absolutely pushed for it. I do think I had some influence in getting Lucas on our side for that vote. And then going to the instant Tribal Council, I was so stressed out because, like I said, I was the easy vote, even after all of the shit that went on between Lucas and Ryan or whatever. And I know there's a lot of family people don't even know where I'm going with this, but my name was thrown out. Jonathan voted for me twice. He missed both times. Devin I had to vote for to ensure an idol wouldn't be played that would have sent me home. And then Jonathan I had to vote for, which is what I wanted to do. I didn't trust Jonathan. We just didn't mesh well. And then at that point, going to the swap, I felt safe at first because I had Lucas, and then I had I had Liz. And then Alex, who I had been talking to a lot from Flama, I knew he was on the bottom, then I could work with him. But once Kayla was blindsided, I feel like that completely changed the game. And at that point, I knew that I lost Lucas, not really as my ally, but just to the other side because he wouldn't want to work with people like Liz and Alex, who were super close with Ryan. So I had to work on that. When we lost immunity, I talked to Lucas. I was like, hey, Lucas, I know he was pretty much telling me he was going to flip or whatever. So I was like, okay, can you just make sure it's not me? And then I also said, if you could get Liz to go over Alex, that would be great. That worked. Liz was a mess, but even before all that, she was going home unanimously. And at that point, I admitted to the merge. And this is what I know matters the most. And I want to clear a lot of things up in the short time. But going to the merge, there was pretty much a clear division right away. I didn't want that to happen, but it was just so obvious. I had known Ryan had to steal a vote and that he was going to play it. So it was just so easy for me to stick with that. And at that point, going to the final 10, that's when I really started to talk to people. I started to talk to people like Lucas more. And Lucas and I kind of had an unspoken agreement that, well, it was kind of a spoken agreement, but at the same time, we weren't going to tell each other information, but we had each other's backs, and that's something that I absolutely had to work on. I made sure Lucas's name wasn't written down at the final 9. I know Alex has been crediting himself a lot for that, but I wouldn't even say Lucas's name was really much of an option. Sorry, the final 10. Sorry. No, wait. 9. Sorry, I'm stressing out. But it wasn't much of an option because I think Krista knew that I wasn't going to vote for Lucas, and a lot of people know that. So it was kind of Javen from the start. Ellie kind of threw out Lucas's name, but we were like, no, it's not going to happen. I think everyone kind of knew that because Javen was the only person that didn't really have someone with him. So at the final 9, I know I've said this a lot, but that's when I think that I really integrated myself into the game. I wanted to branch out to people. I started to talk to everyone. I pretty much flipped an entire other side onto Dustin. I know Dustin was flipping at the same time. I didn't expect that. And I wanted Dustin out because I didn't have a personal relationship with him. That backfired. Krista played her idol on Dustin. That point, final 8. I know I'm kind of just explaining like the plot a lot of this game. I've gone into detail a lot in this, so I'm just gonna like kind of cut there. But I do think that I played a well-rounded game. Alex, he's bringing up the idols that I had. Neither of those I had to play, but I found them. I worked hard to find them. And I always made sure that no matter what, I would have a safety blanket. And even though that safety blanket, that made me seem like a weak player in a sense because I had that, people didn't know that I had that. So I don't really think that was something that 100% saved me at any point. I didn't have to play them. I did play them eventually at final 6 and 5. Towards the end game, I knew I wanted to make it to the end. I wanted to make it with a certain set of people. This wasn't 100% what I wanted going to tonight, but I made sure that
you have 1 minute.
Primary targets. Thank you. The primary targets I wanted to get out went home. Again, a big regret that I had was not winning the final immunity. I was like 2 words off. I had a lead. I blew it, but that was fine. I survived the final 4 and I made it to this point. And I just want to say thank you guys so much again for such an incredible season. It wouldn't have been the same with any of you guys. And yeah, I hope you guys can see my game. I hope you can see everything that I did in this game. And I just want to say I want this so badly. I had from the very beginning. I didn't think I would get to this point, but I did, and I fought my ass off to do so. I would really appreciate any votes that I got tonight. I love you guys all so much. Thank you, and good luck to Ellie and Alex.
All right, thank you, Corey. And up last, we have Ellie. So Ellie, if you would like to go ahead and give your final plea.
Yes, all right, so hello, jurors. First of all, I want to congratulate everyone, not just the final 3, but everyone on a game and a season well played. So coming into this game, first I want to talk about my connections because Alex said that I had a lot of connections. Yes, did I know people? Yes, but the way I left things off with Lucas, I mean, we were like in reality stats like 2 years ago and we hated each other. Ryan, we literally tried to get each other out multiple times in another game. Krista, you were just collateral damage with him. The only really person that I had, I mean, other than knowing Dom, the only real person that I had was Dustin. That was the one person I knew I had. Even Alex, I mean, we were in the game, another game 2 years ago, and we literally hated each other. So did I know people? Yes, but a lot of these people didn't exactly or weren't exactly my biggest fans coming into it, and we didn't exactly have the best relationship. I also want to comment on the whole relying on immunities thing, and I also want to kind of develop that more. I don't think winning immunities should be seen as hiding behind immunities because I worked my ass off to get those immunities. I was the only one to take notes for the season and the days, and that's why I won that competition. I stood on 1 foot for an hour and 44 minutes, and Lucas, you did really good in that challenge, but I literally stood on 1 foot for an hour and 44 minutes, and if that doesn't say dedication, I don't know what does. And yeah, so basically, I literally won 3 immunities, and I worked really, really, really hard for them, so I do really appreciate the recognition that you guys have given me for those immunities because I don't consider them just hiding behind them. I think those kept me safe and I won them when I needed them. I won them final 7, final 5, and final 4. And like Corey said, I would have gone home without those immunities. I won them when I needed them. Moving into it, also this whole safety thing, I'd like to say that I was safe for 5 out of the 8 tribals. And that's not because I got lucky. That's because I won immunities. And that's because I risked my game. I put my game on the line so that my lines could vote me so that we can tie it and go to rocks. Because of that, I was safe during rocks. And I was also safe at the second rock thing because basically Corey, or at least this is what Corey told me, this is what Dom told me, they voted for me not because they wanted me out, but because they wanted me safe from rocks. So basically, I got 9 votes all season. 8 of those votes were basically, I got 10 votes all season. 9 of those votes were basically to keep me safe, and that 1 vote was a throw vote that Lucas threw first merge. And basically, my social connections. I know some people think that I didn't play a very good social game because I didn't talk to a lot of, well, not a lot of the jurors, but like Lucas, Zaire, Javen, we didn't talk as much towards the end. When I say I played a good social game, I don't mean in a sense that I spoke to everyone and I had one-on-ones with everyone, but I'm saying I had a social game because I knew who to talk to and who to make connections with and how to utilize those connections to my benefit. And that's exactly what I did with Dustin. That's exactly what I had with Krista, with Ryan, with Corey, with Alex. And I mean, even Sean, we had our moments, we had our ups and our downs, but for Sean and Peyton, those are 2 people that throughout the game, or at least throughout the first couple of votes. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I did them dirty. I didn't include them in a lot of the votes, but they still voted with me, or at least with what not what I said, with Ryan, Chris, and I said for the New Glacies tribe. I also want to address the reason why I voted for Dustin over Corey at the end. I addressed that earlier, but I just would want to reiterate that. Basically, I know a lot of the jurors think that Dustin could not have won this game whatsoever. I was on call with Dustin a lot. I was talking to him a lot, and I saw the game that he was playing, and I knew that if the jury maybe saw past like their hatred for him, they could have seen the game he played. And he is a very good speaker, so I knew that he would have come to tribal council and he probably would have said some things and convinced some people. And Corey, honestly, I mean, I know he played a good game. I thought that Dustin played a better game. Corey, you played an amazing game. I just didn't see that. I didn't really see the moves that were made because a lot of the times it was mostly either Alex and I or Ryan, Krista, or whatever. And I want to address the whole idol thing because Alex did reiterate before that Corey, you had 2 idols, and Corey, you said you never had to use them, but I kind of questioned, why didn't you use an idol against me and get me out of Final 5 when you said you wanted to get me out? You said Ellie should have gone home, but Final 6, I didn't win immunity and you couldn't use an idol against me, but instead you used it on yourself. So I just want to iterate that. Also, you had an advantage that was not really like actually an advantage, but it was a piece of paper and you could have used that some way to convince some people. And yeah, I already talked about Dustin giving information to me. I think that was pretty obvious. I knew where a lot of the advantages were, where a lot of the idols were the whole game. And the moves I made were always best for my game. Marcy going home was best for my game. Actually, I just want to readdress this. Pre-jury, I had out of the whole Final 3, I had the most influence pre-jury because I also attended the most tribal councils out of everyone, and I was safe for pretty much all of them. Safe as in I would never really got a lot of votes. Basically, Marcy, Peyton, Kaliko, all these people, I wanted them out, and I got them out with the help of my allies. Every single tribal was a blind side, except for I think 1 tribal council, and I was always in the majority of the votes. I never voted in the minority. The only time I voted in the minority was when Javen and Dustin were pitted against each other, but Dustin ended up having an idol played on him, so that also worked to our advantage. At the end of the day, I just want to say that although it seemed like I wasn't always on, I actually was on a lot of the times with my alliance, and we were really talking on Discord a lot. Lucas, maybe you didn't see it, but I was on with a lot of people a lot. Maybe I wasn't on with you, but I was on with a lot of people. Yes, I do work, so I did try to be on as much as possible, and we did have to reschedule things, and I'm sorry for that. But at the end of the day, I literally got off work, and the minute I got off work, I was back on Discord talking this and that. I did miss family events for this. I want this. I really want it badly, and I tried my hardest in this game. And so I just don't want people saying that I'm not dedicated. I mean, I stood on one foot for an hour and 44 minutes, and I was always on calls, always talking to people. Even on off days, I was texting people saying, hey, we have to make a plan. We have to do this. We have to do that. So I just want to say that I was dedicated to this season, and I do think that I played a very well-rounded game. I won 3 immunities. I had a lot of strategy. I was involved in a lot of votes. And I had some of the best social connections, not with everybody, but just in general, they benefited me the most out of everyone in the final three. So yeah, I just want to say good luck to the final three. And whatever happens, I literally love all you jurors. I love Alex, Corey, literally all of you, so much love. And at the end of the day, I think this was an amazing season. So when you go in there to cast your vote, just please remember everything that I said, or remember everything that was said throughout the whole tribal council process, a final tribal council process. And I really hope you go in there and think about every aspect of the game and not just little parts. So thank you so much, and everyone, good job on an amazing season.
All right, thank you so much, Ellie. Thank you so much, Final Three. Thank you so much, jurors. So at this time, I'm going to ask that you guys stop talking in the Ponderosa chat, and please do not message or talk to one another. We are going to go into a 5-minute voting period for the final time this season. You guys are going to vote for a winner. I'm going to ask if you'd like, take a few minutes, reflect to yourself, think about your vote. You are casting your vote for who is going to represent your season, who is going to be the winner of Reality Noted Season 8 New Age. So your time starts now.
Well, I hope Krista doesn't use an idol on me idol on Dustin this time. Because no.
And also, I want to say, please no messaging each other. This is a time for you to think about what
What do
you
we vote at?
We're voting in the DM thing, right?
in your DM, your voting DM that you've been voting in all season long.
Got it.
Also, I will not reveal who won tonight. I will reveal who won on Saturday when I do the finale episode. I'll give you guys a time and we'll do a reunion sometime Saturday night.
Are we allowed to talk to the jurors after this?
I will allow you guys to talk to the jurors, but there will not be any sharing who you voted for. Unless, say, for example, your vote is like insanely obvious. That was your number one all season.
No, I don't care about that. I just want to talk.
I just wanted to clarify to the jury members. If you think your vote could be up in the air, don't maybe share it. All right, guys. I do have the votes and we do have a winner. That being said, you guys will not find that out until Saturday. I'm going to stop this recording and we can talk a little bit about my thoughts and opinions while you guys ask some questions. Obviously, we'll do more of that at the reunion. But yeah.